Emily Carter had always believed that if you worked hard enough and did the right thing, life would eventually reward you. She was wrong. At 24, Emily had little money, no powerful family behind her, and no connections to important people. But she had something she valued more than anything else in the world, her baby daughter, Lily. Lily was only 3 months old when everything changed. Emily had spent those 3 months learning how to be a mother. She knew when Lily was hungry, when she was tired, and even the tiny expression she made whenever she was about to fall asleep. For Emily, motherhood wasn't something she had planned perfectly. It was simply the most important thing that had ever happened to her. But someone else had already decided that Lily belonged in a different life. That person was Victoria Blackwood. Victoria was the wife of Richard Blackwood, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. Richard was also Emily's employer. Emily worked as an assistant at one of Richard's companies. She had taken the job because it paid better than anything else she could find, and she needed the money to support Lily. At first, Victoria had seemed friendly. She would occasionally visit the office and ask about the baby. But gradually, her questions became strange. Does Emily have enough money to raise her? Where does Emily live? Who looks after Lily while Emily works? Is Emily really capable of being a mother? Emily noticed the change but tried to ignore it. Until one afternoon, Victoria asked her to come to the Blackwood mansion. Emily arrived carrying Lily in her arms. Victoria was waiting in the living room. Richard was there too. So was a lawyer. Emily immediately felt that something was wrong. "What's this about?" she asked. Richard avoided her eyes. Victoria sat calmly on the sofa. "We're concerned about Lily's future." Emily tightened her arms around her daughter. "My daughter's future is my responsibility." Victoria smiled. "Of course. But responsibility requires stability." Emily looked at Richard. "Why is there a lawyer here?" Nobody answered immediately. Then the lawyer placed several documents on the table. Emily stared at them. "What are these?" "A temporary custody agreement," the lawyer explained. Emily's heart dropped. "No," Victoria sighed. "Emily, don't make this difficult. You can't take my daughter. We're not trying to take her." "Then why are these papers here?" Richard finally spoke. "You've been struggling, Emily. You work long hours. You're living in a small apartment. You barely have enough money. I take care of my daughter. Nobody is saying you don't love her." "Then what are you saying?" Victoria leaned forward. "We're saying Lily deserves better." Those words stayed in Emily's mind. Lily deserved better. Emily looked down at her daughter. She had never had much, but she had never failed Lily. She had worked every hour she could. She had skipped meals to make sure Lily had everything she needed. She had held her through every difficult night. And now these people were telling her she wasn't enough. Emily stood up. "I'm leaving." Richard blocked the doorway. "Emily, listen. No. You don't understand how serious this can become." Emily stopped. Richard's voice became colder. "If this goes to court, things could become very difficult for you." Emily looked at the lawyer. "What are my chances?" The lawyer didn't answer directly. That was answer enough. Emily had no money for an expensive legal battle. Richard had money, influence, lawyers, and connections. Emily had nothing except Lily. Victoria approached her. "Sign the agreement. Lily will stay with us temporarily. You'll still be able to see her. Temporarily? Until your situation improves." Emily looked at Richard. "Do I have your word?" Richard hesitated. Then he nodded. "Yes." Emily didn't trust him, but she was terrified that refusing would cause her to lose Lily completely. With trembling hands, she signed. That night, Emily went home without her daughter. The apartment felt impossibly quiet. Lily's crib was still beside the bed. Her little clothes were still folded in a drawer. Her favorite blanket was still lying on the chair. Emily sat on the floor and cried. She had agreed to the arrangement because she believed it was temporary. She believed she would get Lily back. She didn't know that the agreement had been designed to make that nearly impossible. Days became weeks. Every time Emily asked to see Lily, there was another excuse. Lily was sleeping. Lily was sick. Lily was traveling with the family. Lily had a schedule. Then Victoria stopped answering Emily's calls. Emily went to the mansion. The security guard wouldn't let her inside. She called Richard. He didn't answer. Finally, she received a message from the lawyer. The temporary arrangement was being extended. Emily felt something inside her break. She immediately began investigating. She found discrepancies in the paperwork. Statements had been altered. Information about her financial situation had been exaggerated. Several details about Lily's care had been presented in a way that made Emily look irresponsible. Emily realized what had happened. She hadn't voluntarily given up her daughter. She had been pressured into signing something she didn't fully understand. But proving that would require money. Money she didn't have. For months, Emily fought. She contacted lawyers. She searched for help. She gathered documents. But every door seemed to close. Eventually, someone gave her advice she never wanted to hear. You're trying to fight people who have more power than you. You need to become strong enough that they can't ignore you. Emily hated the advice. But she listened. She left the city. Not because she had stopped loving Lily. She left because she needed to build a life powerful enough to bring her daughter home. Emily took a small job in another city. During the day, she worked. At night, she studied. She learned accounting, then business management, then corporate law. She made mistakes. She failed. She started again. There were nights when she wanted to quit. Whenever that happened, she looked at the photograph of Lily she kept inside her wallet. And she continued. 3 years passed. Then 5. Then 8. Emily was no longer the young woman who had walked out of the Blackwood mansion with nothing. She had become the founder of Carter Holdings, a rapidly growing company specializing in technology and logistics. Her company expanded from a tiny operation into a national business. Emily became wealthy, but money wasn't what changed her. Confidence changed her. She no longer feared powerful people. She no longer believed that wealth automatically made someone right. And she never stopped looking for Lily. Eventually, she discovered that Lily was doing well. She was 16 now. Smart, kind, quiet. And according to the limited information Emily could find, Lily had always believed that her mother had abandoned her. That discovery hurt more than anything. Emily had spent 8 years fighting to return. Lily thought she had simply left. Emily decided she would not force herself into Lily's life. She would first uncover the complete truth. Then she would let Lily decide what happened next. That opportunity came unexpectedly. One morning, Emily's chief financial officer walked into her office. "We have a problem." "What happened?" "The Blackwood Group is in financial trouble." Emily looked up. "The Blackwood Group?" "Richard Blackwood's company." Emily stared at the report. 4 years, Richard had been one of the most powerful businessmen in the city. Now his company was struggling. Banks were refusing to extend more credit. Several major investors were pulling out. And the company needed a major acquisition to survive. Emily read the next page. Her expression changed. The Blackwood Group was trying to purchase one of Carter Holdings' competitors. If Emily acquired that competitor first, she could control the deal that would determine Richard's future. Her CFO looked at her. "Should we proceed?" Emily remained silent for several seconds. Then she said, "Yes." The acquisition went through. Within weeks, Emily became one of the most important business figures connected to the Blackwood Group. Richard had no idea. Until the night of the charity gala. Emily walked into the ballroom wearing a simple black dress. People turned to look. Not because they knew her personally, because they knew her name. "That's Emily Carter, the CEO? She owns Carter Holdings." Richard was standing across the room. He turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, he didn't recognize her. Then his face changed. "Emily?" She smiled politely. "Hello, Richard." Richard stared at her. "You? I've changed." He looked around nervously. "Why are you here?" Emily looked toward the stage. "Business." Richard lowered his voice. "Are you behind the acquisition?" Emily didn't answer. He already knew. Victoria appeared beside him. The moment she saw Emily, she froze. That's impossible. Emily looked at her. Hello, Victoria. Victoria's face went pale. Richard looked between them. You knew she was coming? Victoria shook her head. Emily calmly said, I've been waiting 8 years for this conversation. Victoria stepped closer. Emily, whatever you think happened. I don't think. Emily opened her handbag. I know. She placed a folder on the table. Inside were copies of the original custody documents, then bank records, then emails, then messages. Evidence showing that information about Emily had been manipulated. Evidence showing that Victoria had pressured people into making statements against her. And finally, the original agreement. Emily pointed to one paragraph. You told me this was temporary. Victoria said nothing. You promised I'd still be able to see my daughter. Still nothing. You told me I was signing away temporary custody. Richard looked at Victoria. Is this true? Victoria's voice shook. You don't understand. Richard opened the documents. His expression hardened. You lied to me. I was trying to protect Lily. No, Emily said. You were trying to control her. Victoria looked at Emily angrily. You had nothing. What kind of life could you have given her? Emily's expression remained calm. Apparently, a better one than you thought. Richard looked at Emily. What do you want? Emily paused. 8 years ago, she would have answered immediately. She would have demanded money, an apology, her daughter, everything. But now she understood something. Revenge wasn't about destroying someone. It was about taking back the power they had stolen from you. I want the truth, she said. Richard looked confused. That's it. No. Emily looked toward the ballroom entrance. A teenage girl had just walked inside. Lily. Emily's heart stopped. For 8 years she had imagined this moment. But reality was different. Lily looked around the room. Then she saw Emily. Their eyes met. Lily frowned. Something about Emily seemed familiar. She walked closer. Who are you? Emily struggled to speak. I'm Emily. Lily waited. Emily swallowed. I'm your mother. The room seemed to disappear. Lily stared at her. What? Victoria immediately stepped forward. Don't listen to her. Emily didn't move. She simply waited. Lily looked at Richard. Is she telling the truth? Richard couldn't answer. Finally, he nodded. Yes. Lily's eyes filled with confusion. Mom said you left me. Emily felt tears forming. I never left you. Then why didn't you come back? I tried. Why didn't you take me? Emily looked at Victoria. Because I was told I had no choice. Lily looked at the documents. Then at Emily. You really tried? Every day. Lily was silent. Emily reached into her handbag. She took out a small wooden box. Inside was half of a tiny silver bracelet. I gave you the other half when you were a baby. Lily touched the bracelet around her wrist. She had kept it all these years. She slowly realized what it meant. Emily didn't reach for her. She didn't force a hug. She simply said, You don't have to forgive me. You don't have to call me Mom. You don't have to choose anything tonight. Lily looked at her. I just want you to know that I never stopped loving you. Lily began to cry. Then she stepped forward. Emily opened her arms. They hugged. For the first time in 8 years, Emily held her daughter again. Behind them, Victoria stood silently. Her carefully constructed world was falling apart. But Emily wasn't finished. The documents were handed to the appropriate authorities. The custody arrangement was reviewed. The evidence showed that Emily had been pressured and misled. Richard eventually admitted that he had trusted Victoria without questioning what she had done. The Blackwood family's reputation suffered. Richard's company continued to decline. But Emily never celebrated his downfall. That wasn't the revenge she wanted. Her revenge was simpler. She had survived. She had built something nobody could take from her. And most importantly, Lily finally knew the truth. Months later, Emily and Lily were slowly building a relationship. It wasn't perfect. There were difficult conversations. There were questions Emily couldn't answer immediately. There were memories that couldn't be repaired overnight. But they had time now. One afternoon, Lily visited Emily's office. She looked at the city through the enormous windows. "Do you ever regret leaving?" Emily thought about it. "I regret that I couldn't bring you with me." Lily nodded. "But you didn't give up." "No." "Why?" Emily smiled. "Because you were always worth fighting for." Lily hugged her. Emily closed her eyes. 8 years earlier, she had walked away from the Blackwood mansion believing she had lost everything. She had been wrong. She hadn't lost everything. She had lost control of her circumstances. But she had never lost hope. And when she finally returned, she didn't return as the frightened young woman they remembered. She returned as someone who had built her own future. Someone who no longer needed permission to stand up for herself. Someone who had learned that sometimes the greatest revenge isn't watching the people who hurt you suffer. Sometimes it's standing beside the person they tried to take from you and realizing that they failed. Emily looked at Lily and smiled. The woman who had once been told she wasn't good enough had built a life nobody could take away. And the daughter she had been forced to give up was finally standing beside her. That was her revenge. Not destruction. Not hatred. The truth. And a second chance.